Hello, everybody, and welcome to Live Dreams. You've got me and Cody tonight, and we're looking forward to see what God is showing us in dreams this week. Cody, do you want to pray, or do you want me to start it out?
Well, I'll jump us into prayer.
All
Father,
right.
you're an amazing, gracious, loving Lord. Thank you, Father, that you speak to us in dreams. Father, thank you that you teach us the language and the symbols. And Father, we just pray that we would hear clearly from you and not from anyone else. And Father, we just rebuke and silence the enemy by the blood of Jesus and the power of our testimonies. Father, we love you and can't wait to see what you do with this episode. In Jesus' name, amen. All right. Let's start with Maria.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
Good to see you again.
Good to see you.
So this is two very short dreams in one, so I might as well tell you both. So first I dreamed that an underpastor who used to serve in my home church, he paid me $300 for being a watchman. And then the second dream after that was that I dreamed that I was watching a Bruce Lee film. He was being introduced along with a Chinese actress. This Chinese actress looked like she had on one of those ancient Chinese headdresses. You know, the ones that look like a bottomless square. I don't know if you've seen those kind of headdresses. I don't know how to describe it. I don't know what you call it, but yeah, she had one of those on. And let's see, after they were introduced, you could hear Bruce narrating the film, and when he was narrating it, he was saying how he's going to challenge his own son. And that was it.
Okay, so just to clarify, you had both dreams on the same night.
Yep.
Both dreams on the same night. And the first dream, is this at your home church that you already at? This is a real church you've been to?
Yes.
And then you said under pastor, not at the head pastor, but like
right, exactly.
A secondary pastor paid you $300 to be a watchman.
Right, he paid me because I was being a watchman.
Okay. And then the second one was Bruce Lee and a Chinese actress with a square headdress. It's some kind of tradition. Was it a traditional royal sign of royalty?
I'm not sure if it's royalty. It might be one of those, I don't know, those custom types of headdresses. I'm not sure.
Okay. But it's definitely cultural headdress, right?
Yes, it's more, I would say it's more cultural, yeah.
And then she was dressed appropriately, like some kind of dress or something that matched the headdress?
I couldn't see what she was wearing. I couldn't tell what she was wearing from. Actually, she had more like I want to say like a female warrior type of, because they both seemed like they were going in a battle.
Okay. But the primary focus and what you primarily noticed was the headdress, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that was the main focus, the main part of that symbol. And then Bruce Lee narrated the film where he was going to challenge his son in a battle, or what does that mean, challenge his son?
Like in a battle.
And so were you watching a film play out, or he just like was at the beginning of the film narrating what was about to happen?
Well, no, it started out when they were both being introduced, Bruce Lee and the actress. And then after that, you could hear his voice while the film was being narrated, and just ended right there.
Okay. I'm just trying to add clarity, so bear with me. So they were introduced, and then so you see Bruce Lee, or you just hear his voice? And if you just hear his voice, what images are you seeing?
It looked like either a volcano or a mountain.
These are interesting, Tammy. I'm not hearing much on either of these. Are you hearing anything at all, or do you need me to try to start?
Well, I'm hearing on the first one. The second one, I'm not quite there yet. So I'm hearing like undercover, like you're an undercover watchman, and the completeness of your work is coming to fruition. I don't know if you're a watchman in the word, like, like where you pray as a watchman. But if you aren't, maybe that's something to look into, what a watchman is in the Bible.
Okay.
Because they're very important.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Watching over your city, you're watching over your community, and you're praying into it.
Okay.
Does that resonate with you at all?
Yes. Yes. I remember being told by the senior pastor how we are to be watchmen.
Right. And I'm curious about the $300 because I'm seeing it almost like it's 3 and 100, three folds of 100. And I'm not sure we're going to have the answer for the 300, but I do think there's a significant to the number 300 that you may pray into and seek the Lord on.
Okay.
And then it's interesting about the 2 because you're supposed to be a watchman, right? And then the next dream, after you're kind of paid to be a watchman, is Bruce Lee. I can't remember. Is he also Chinese?
Yes, he is.
So he
was martial arts.
Huh?
He does martial arts. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I remember some of his movies as a kid. I just couldn't remember if he was Vietnamese or Chinese. So he's Chinese, and then a Chinese woman who's a warrior, and they have a child, and then you're looking at a volcano, and then he's going to battle his own son, which is his offspring, right?
Yes.
Right. And so I do get the sense that it is tied to the first one. But I'm not hearing anything at all on that. So I'm going to see if Tammy hears anything, and then we may have to fill this one for another time.
I heard with the 300, there's a movie called 300, and that just keeps popping in my head. But they're a warrior clan. I know someone put in the chat Gideon's 300, the remnant, right?
Oh, right.
And, but the movie 300, and I don't suggest in watching it unless you feel God tells you to, because it is very gory and violent, but it's basically about 300 warriors that take down a massive army, just like with Gideon. So I guess you could almost say it's like Hollywood's production of Gideon's 300 in a sense, without the Christian aspect to it. Mm-hmm. So, he's preparing you to be a warrior, and then you're seeing who's known as being basically a warrior, right? So he's kung fu, he fights the bad guys. He's going to challenge his son, and I wonder if it's challenging the next generation, because that's what I'm getting, that we need to challenge the next generation, and we need to prepare them to take the mantle, right? And I don't think that they've been properly prepared. And so maybe the connection is to pray for the next generation, to challenge them to step up and be the warriors that they need to be.
Amen.
Amen. I did finally get something, and I think that's great, and I can come into agreement with that. And so if there's a contrast between what it means to be a righteous warrior and a righteous watchman, I think there's going to be a contrast to a worldly warrior and the volcano or the mountain, where in the traditional sense, most religions is you have to climb your way to the top and earn your effort to get to heaven. And I do think there's a contrast between man and battling his own children, and then God giving up his son. And so I do think that there is a connection between the being a watchman on the wall and the contrast to worldly warriors. and then trying to earn their own way to salvation, especially if it's volcano, where they would offer sacrifices to appease the gods, which would be the direct contrast to being a warrior for Christ. So I could come into agreement with Tammy about training up our children, instead of fighting our children, training up our children to be righteous warriors.
Okay.
Yeah. So does any of that resonate with you?
Oh yeah. I mean, anywhere it seems that way.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming on, and we're going to go ahead and move on. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right. Who are we going to go next? I'm going to share the invite one more time. I'm going to copy and put it in the chat. And there it goes. It's a little low. I have to peek over. I have two monitors. I have to peek over the one to get to the other. Okay. So I think we're going to go to Matey.
Hey.
Hey, how are you?
Camera's not working.
Oh, we want to see you.
Well, you know what I look like.
No, but nobody else does.
And this is a short dream, which is unusual for me, but I had it a few months ago. I was just looking through my notes to find out exactly when, but I couldn't find out. I had printed it out. How are you guys? How's that?
We're doing great.
You look good. Okay. I was in a garage with some familiar people. Paul, my former neighbor and mechanic, was working. I went in and leaned a bike against the wall. I asked if it was okay to leave it there. He showed me my radio flyer wagon he was working on. And instead of it being red, he was painting it blue and white. I guess I had requested that, but I was surprised by the colors. But I let it be. End of dream.
Okay. Well, I think what we'll do is we're going to let you take a stab at it, because you're a trained analyst, and then we'll let Tammy take a stab, and then I definitely got something on this one. So what'd you get?
You know what? I've had this dream a few months ago. I get nothing. Except I really do have a radio flyer wagon, which I love. I carry stuff with it, plants, and it's rusted out right now. I want to fix it. It got beat up at the beach this winter. Anyway, I have a beach bike that I ride. Paul truly was my former neighbor and mechanic. We call him the car whisperer, because he's very good at what he does. And that's it.
Okay. Now, was this your beach bike?
Probably. I probably left my beach bike against. So it's the only bike I have.
Right on. Tammy, what do you think?
Well, one of the main things is I got Americana, because the red flyer wagon is a symbol. You think back to that. I mean, kids carried it around. I keep seeing that. Like, I keep seeing like kids at parades with their red flyer wagon. The fact that it's red and then it's being painted blue and white represents the flag. A mechanic. So I'm getting, Paul. I immediately heard Paul in the Bible. And that, he's a mechanic. So he tweaks things, this guy. So that's all I'm kind of hearing right now.
Okay.
So this one's cool. Is this before or after you joined, where you started taking some classes with us?
Oh, it was only a few months ago, so I've been taking classes for a while. So
Okay, so it was definitely after you started.
Oh, yes.
So this is kind of the cool thing that I'm getting is I definitely also, Tammy heard Paul in the Bible. And so I was wondering what was special about Paul in the Bible. But what I'm getting a sense for is that you drive your bike up there, but he's already working on your radio flyer, right?
Yes.
And so you're leaving the bike there, right? So you're setting your bike there. Why are you setting your bike there?
No idea.
Yeah, well, because, so this is kind of what I'm getting. So the blue many times is a symbol for the prophetic, and I definitely have it here. And so many times for kids, those radio flyer wagons are like, things of imagination, and they fly in them and do so much. But for sure, the name, instead of radio, I kind of got like frequency, and then for sure flyer. So for me, it's kind of like a trading in the two-wheel road bike for this kind of prophetic journey that you're on, and you got to kind of need the wagon to carry all the downloads and stuff that you're going to get. So I think that this is just a visual metaphor for kind of the dream prophetic journey that you've embarked upon. That's kind of what I'm getting for this.
Thanks.
Yeah. And you're leaving your bike there because you're kind of trading the two wheels in for the flying. You're going to fly with the Lord. That's not the right word, but that's kind of the sense that I'm getting.
Great. Okay. Yeah, I couldn't make any sense of it. And a garage is a place where things are fixed, right?
Yeah.
And the mechanic was working on it.
You said it got beat up.
Well, my bike wasn't beat up.
The wagon was beat up, right? You said the wagon was beat up?
In real life, the wagon's beat up.
Yeah. And so the wagon's already there. You dropped the bike off. It wasn't red. It was blue. So you're seeing the blue for the first time.
Yes.
So, yeah. So it's like you're going there and you're going to leave the bike. Can I leave the bike here? Yeah, I'm leaving the bike. Okay. I'm taking off the wagon. So yeah, I think it's this idea of this prophetic journey and the dream interpretation. And yeah. Does any of that resonate with you?
Yes, it does.
Yeah,
it does.
Cool. We appreciate you. Thanks for coming on. We're going to move on. And I don't know how to say this name, Tammy. Kieu. How would you say? Thanks, Matt.
Sure.
How would you say that? Kieu.
Kieu.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Kieu. It's a K, but it's pronounced with G sound.
Oh, so Kieu.
Kieu. Yeah, exactly.
Wow, right on.
Yeah, very good.
Well, welcome, Kieu. We're excited that you're here.
Yes, thank you. I'm excited too. It's my first time.
Oh, well, welcome.
Yeah, but I've been following you guys and trying to have time to figure all this stuff out. So, yeah.
Cool. What's your name mean?
My name is I'm Vietnamese, and so it means beauty, like internal beauty.
Oh yeah, what a great name.
Yeah. Praise the Lord.
Yeah.
Okay, so the dream that I had it last year. I don't remember when, but 2022. And I'm just going to read it. I was in a grocery parking lot, and all of a sudden it got dark. Now, to me, this is my notes. It looked like the Smart and Final store that I usually go to. It's not very well lit at night, not a lot of lights, kind of scary for me. It kind of looked like that grocery parking lot. So I don't like shopping real late at night there. But I looked around, and going back to the dream, I looked around, and suddenly it was like instant. It was just like I was going into the parking lot, like maybe like I finished shopping, although I didn't have any food or anything, but going back to my car, and then instantly, bam, black, dark. And all of a sudden I was all alone. So in the dream, I could just tell like everything kind of like was silence, and I was all alone. And when before there seemed that there were people around. Then I saw a black man. He was probably, in his 40s. And I knew he wanted to attack me, harm me, do bad things to me. And I knew that instinctively. And then I saw another dark, maybe black, but a little bit lighter in tone, maybe a little more brown skin. And it was a shorter man. And he was getting into my car. So I have a red car. He was getting into my car, and I was very scared. When I saw the black man, who, I call him the big guy because there was that little shorter guy, but the big black guy, when I saw him, I just screamed. I wanted to get out of there as quickly as I could, but he was coming to attack me, and it was so real. I was terrified. And I felt, so the end of the dream is just him coming to attack me. I'm trying to like scream or something. I knew he was trying to hurt me. And and do bad things to me. So then I woke up. My heart was racing so fast, and I think I probably sure I screamed even when I woke up. And then my husband was there, and then he prayed for me. So and I wish these dreams were like few and far in between. I don't have a lot of these dreams. However, I do feel like they do come here and there, kind of similar themes of that. So um, just that dream, it scared me. So I feel like it's affected me. Like at night, I'm looking around more. I mean, yes, I know we have to be safe with our surroundings, but it did affect me in a way. And I just try to pray and not have fear. But yeah, that's my dream.
Okay, so a couple questions for you then. I think it's my turn to give it a go first. Okay, so just so I understand you, and I'm going to say it without your commentary, then I'm going to ask about your commentary. So you're at a grocery store,
yeah,
and it's kind of darkly lit. Mm-hmm. And are you walking or driving?
I was actually walking back to my car.
Okay, so you've done shopping.
Yeah, it seemed like I was done with the store and going back to my car, not going into the store or anything. Yeah.
So you're coming back into the parking lot. It's kind of dimly lit.
Yes.
You feel like in the natural, you recognize this place. Mm-hmm. You see a black man. How far away is he?
He feels like when I first see him, he feels, not too far. So let's say 5 feet or so,
Okay. And
or 10 feet, not too far. Yeah.
Yeah, really relatively close.
Yeah.
Not in arm's distance though, but
not in arm's distance. Yeah. Correct.
And you keep walking towards your car.
Yeah.
And then you're going to the driver's side, and on the passenger side, a shorter brown guy. Is he with the black guy and they're working as a team, or is he like safe?
It does seem like they're together. You know what I mean? It does seem like they're together. However, they were never pictured like together. All of a sudden, like I saw the black man first, and then later, kind of more later at the corner of my eye, like I barely saw this guy, the shorter guy, the more lighter tone, maybe let's say brown skin, shorter man. And yeah, he was getting in my car. I'm not remembering if he was going to the driver's side or the passenger side. Right now, I can't remember.
You just knew that he was getting in your car.
But I could see that he was getting in my car. So it's like, how come my car was open?
Yeah, so your car's unlocked.
Yeah, yeah.
And
yeah.
And is it a 4-door or 2-door?
I have a 4-door.
Yeah, and it was in you, but you don't know if it was the back seat or the front seat or anything, or kind of.
It was the front. It was the front.
For sure.
Yeah, it was the front. It was for sure getting in the front. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it could. I think it's important to know if he was trying to drive the car or if he was trying to get in the passenger.
I know. Okay,
but if it's not important, the Lord doesn't want you to remember. So if you can't remember, then it's not important to the dream.
But I get why you asked that question. Yes. You know what? I kind of sense. I don't sense it was the driver's side for some reason.
Pastor, yeah. So it's definitely a threat.
Yes.
And then you screamed. I mean, so he never got in the car. He went to get in the car.
Yeah.
And then you screamed.
I screamed more, not from him. It's almost like I saw that younger, like that shorter guy, the brown toned skin guy at the corner of my eye. So it was just like, oh, look what's happening now. Like there's this little like
kind of like your trap,
little kid, like little decoy, like like there's the distraction of he's all scary. I'm focused on this black man, and then there's this guy coming and wanting to maybe steal my car or take things out of my car or something. I saw him at the corner of my eye, but when I was yelling, it was my focus was back to the black man. He seemed like the immediate threat, and so when I saw him coming towards me, that's when I screamed.
Right.
The black man.
And so just to clear it up, did the guy, he was going to get in the car, he never got in the car, and then you screamed, and then you woke up and you probably screamed for your husband, right?
Yeah, I feel like he was the brown kind of tone guy was coming into the car. I didn't see him fully get in. It was like he was trying to get in, but he was very close, Yeah.
And then you knew the car was unlocked.
Yes. And then, but I woke up before the brown skin tone guy like did anything else more.
Okay. So I'm going to let Tammy answer when I'm done if she thinks it's a physical, real threat. I don't get the sense that it's an actual real threat. I do think it's a warning. And so we'll just talk through what that is. So I think there's going to be two contrasts here. One, I think the Lord is highlighting a spirit of fear, and that's something you got to be. There's a book that's written, The Gift of Fear, and it's an account of, like, I'm making this number up, 100 people that before they were violently attacked, and they're not Christians, they had a sense, and they call it like a sixth sense. We know it's the Holy Spirit, that something bad was about to happen. And that's the gift of fear that God gave us to prevent actions from happening. And then there's an unrighteous, unnatural spirit of fear that unrighteously. So I did one. I think the Holy Spirit. Do you have at all struggle with any kind of like unnatural fear anytime? You can just,
when you say unnatural, what do you mean unnatural?
Spirit of fear in ever, like is
just being afraid.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the only not as much, but kind of typical women thing. Like, we're women, we got to be careful if it's dark, and like we don't want to be raped or like that stuff. That's yes, I think like a lot of.
So here's what I heard. I did hear spirit of fear. Okay, so if the Lord is highlighting that, I'll let you just pray into it. And what you would do is, anytime you get a word or a dream interpretation, you're going to pray into it. You're going to ask the Lord to confirm it. You're going to see what you get from it. But this is for sure what I got. I did hear spirit of fear. Okay. And so that would just be hey, is there something that's a little more? But here's the thing that I did get a sense of. You, and I like how you said distraction. The thing that you think is super scary, the thing that is super intimidating, the thing that you're focused on isn't the thing that's actually going to come and harm you. That's the thing. It is the guy that actually is getting in the car, who's shorter and is lighter skinned and who looks less scary. And it's like he's a passenger. So the question then would become is, and I'm just going to make this out generally, and then you do with it what you will. Yeah. I don't know if there's something coming that is going to seem really, really scary, and it's going to be like it's a really big deal, a big scary thing. But that's not really where the threat lies. The threat lies with something that's more like right next to you, the passenger that is short, doesn't look intimidating, looks more friendly, but that's actually the real threat. And so I would ask you to pray into that, and then just to be wise and not to walk in fear, but to walk with wisdom. Tammy, do you hear? What are you hearing?
I'm hearing a lot of similar, but one of the first things I said, so when you said a dimly lit grocery store, I immediately saw mask mandates in the grocery stores in 2020 versus 2022, which brought in a spirit of fear. Things seemed dark, and it created a lot of unnatural fear. And then the fact that he got into your car, into your calling, into your destiny, means you have an open door that you need to close.
Oh, I for sure heard open door. Absolutely heard open door. Absolutely. Yeah.
And because the devil is sneaky, right? He's going to distract you with what you think is something large and scary. And that's where that open door access, there's already been the open door, and he doesn't want you to see it. So it's kind of like going and asking the Lord, where's some open doors that I need to have? Now, I did like what someone said. Someone said a familiar spirit. So maybe there's something familiar in the family that's created an open door that you need to close and lock.
Okay. And I don't know if this is relevant, but the store is Smart and Final. Like, that's the store that it reminded me of, that store near my house. Yeah,
I'm not really hearing, be smart and finalize things.
Yeah.
With the Lord, right?
Amen.
But you definitely need to close that door, because there is an open door that actually can lead to further destruction than what the threat is that is overwhelming you.
Okay.
So because let's see, what was I was thinking, and I could be wrong on this, but that you've been under attack. Like, I feel like there's been a lot of attacks on you, possibly like spiritually, maybe in your family. And I could be wrong, so please forgive me if I'm wrong. In your 40s?
Oh yeah. There has, there has been, like I'm in my 50s now, the beginning, and but in my 40s, like personally, like my mom passed away, and there was a lot. She was sick. And so there was a lot there to take care of her, a lot of family stuff. With all that, it was very, very stressful, actually.
Right. So sometime in your 40s might be where the open door started. That's kind of, and that you were under attack, because that's kind of what I was hearing. Cody,
Okay.
anything else?
Yeah. So what I would just do, so just so you clearly heard, the actionable intelligence would be is to seek the Lord on, hey, Lord,
Okay.
where's the area? Can you show me, bring confirmation? Where is this open door?
Okay.
And then, Lord, just let me love what you love, hate what you hate, fear what you fear. And so there's not an unnatural spirit of fear, so that you could, and you know what the way you deal with the spirit of fear is through faith, right?
Right.
We overcome the enemy with the power of the blood and the power of our testimony, and by faith, standing in faith. So yeah, so I guess your homework, and what we traditionally do is we just put a request for information in, keep a notebook by our bed, and we just ask the Lord, hey, Lord, you gave me this dream. You want to communicate to me. You love me. Thank you, Father. What is there any doors? Would you show me in a dream? Would you tell me, give me a download, or just directly drop it into my spirit? What's the open door, Lord, so we can deal with this? Thank you for revealing it to me. And then, you ask that, and you ask it for several nights in a row, or till you get a dream or two, and then see what you can do to download it.
Okay. And maybe that may explain, because I have like dreams similar to this, being attacked, like just again, here and there, not a lot, but they're scary. I wake up, I pray. Sometimes I can say Jesus. Sometimes I can't get the word out.
Yeah. So what happens is the Lord is going to show you a spiritual reality in your dreams, because he has your full attention. Right. And so, and it's like with your kids, if you have kids, or, I don't know if you do, but you're like, I have kids, take out the trash, take out the trash, take out the trash. I told you to take out the trash. You didn't take out the trash. In fact, my son didn't take out the trash this morning. And so the trash never got taken out in the garbage trunk. So he keeps speaking to us, and he cranks up the volume until he gets our attention. And so, yeah, what we normally do when we have similar kind of dreams is we put them all together, and then we look at them as a set, and we see what the Lord's saying through these common symbols, but it's probably going to be similar things. And so it is going to be spiritual warfare. And so, yeah, the Lord's showing you the reality of spiritual warfare.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Cody and Tammy, thank you.
One question: have you ever done much research, or do you have any understanding of spiritual warfare?
Yes, I do, and I'm kind of like beginning in this dream interpretation stuff. But I work with clients, and I was able to interpret this client's dream. I'm fascinated with dreams. I haven't always dreamed. Maybe I haven't always remembered, But spiritual warfare, yes. I mean, I definitely feel that I'm on the battle zone, because I pray a lot for people.
Oh, that's awesome. The dates are important too, so just make sure you record the dates. And we do appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much for your time. We'd love to hear or see you again.
Okay, great. Thank you, guys.
Cheers. Bye. All right, so I'm going to run the trailer. We have a new spiritual intelligence mentorship starting soon. And so I'm going to run the trailer real quick.
We live in a world with much confusion, propaganda, and outright lies. It's hard to know what's real, what's false, and what's really going on. Do you have even one source that you can trust? And I mean really trust. Can you imagine leading a state or an army or a nation in this environment? What if you heard from God every day about your life, your purpose, and your future, and you understood with clarity what to do? Imagine hearing so clearly that he even trusted you with intelligence to advise leaders desperate for answers. Hi, I'm John Redenbo, and I have the honor of leading the Spiritual Intelligence Mentorship, an in-depth program where a team of people work with you in a highly structured atmosphere to teach you how to decode the encrypted language of God through dreams. If you're up for the challenge, I invite you to apply today. Register at spiritualintel.com.
Okay, so I just reposted the link. I see that Holly is kind of posting some questions in there. Holly, just click and get in the back room, and we can decode one of your dreams for you. I do believe this is Joanne, and so we're going to give Joanne a shot. And I see Kayla, and I see someone else hiding in the back, but we're going to go with Joanne because I'm just trying to get them in the sequential order. Hello.
Hi, Cody. Hi, Tammy. Nice to see you all again.
Hello.
Yeah, welcome.
So I had this dream this morning, and I kind of have an idea what it's about. I just want to run it across you guys and get your opinion. So there's 3 parts to it. The first part, I'm in my real house where I live, and I look out the windows and I see police officers in uniform. There's probably 6 or 8 of them walking around my the perimeter of my house looking for someone, and I believe it was a man. And that was the first scene. The second scene, I'm in my office, sitting at my desk, looking at my computer. I work from home. I'm a prayer minister. I just started back to work last week. And so I'm sitting at my desk looking at the computer, and my head was down. Like, I don't know if I was late getting back from lunch. I don't know if I fell asleep, but something happened to my computer and the screen went black. And I was trying to get it to come back up and it wouldn't come back up. So I just had this sense like something was wrong in that area. Then the third part was those police officers came in the back door. And I was thinking to myself, like, he's not here. He's whoever you're looking for is not here. I'm thinking this myself. They just came in and just started like going into the house and, different areas. And then there's a lady sitting there, probably in her 50s or something. She had 2 small puppies, and I sat down on the ottoman and began like playing with the puppies and petting them and everything. And then my 2 dogs, I kind of felt like they were coming up behind me, and I didn't want them to get jealous, so I stopped petting the puppies, and that was the whole dream.
I think it's your turn to go first. Tammy, are you getting anything for any of this?
Well, let's see. When you said that your screen went black, I immediately heard of like blackout EMP type of thing, like technology blacked out. Which would kind of go like, let me see.
On the windows, when you were looking out the windows, were they the front of the house windows or the back of the house windows?
Actually, it's in my kitchen.
And so what can you see from your kitchen?
The neighbor's house and my driveway is on that side.
So it's kind of like a side window.
It's a side window, right. Mm-hmm. So the police officers were walking on the driveway.
Okay.
And facing towards the street, like walking towards the front of the yard.
Okay.
Yeah. With that, it's like now that the window is in your kitchen, that's a place of preparation. So it's like there's side preparation that you have to do for events that are coming. I'm not getting a whole lot on it right now. Cody, what are you getting?
Okay. So let's ask you a question. You said you kind of had something on it. So what are you getting on this?
Well, there's a couple directions that, because last night I asked the Lord, I got double-minded in my prayer, so that's what's confusing to me. But I had asked I was watching some dream interpretations last night, or some dreams of the future, like, how a lot of people dream of Trump and things to come. And so I had asked the Lord, like, why don't I ever get any of those kind of dreams? I kind of like to get those kind of dreams too. And another time I was like, what is in for my life this year? Like, what is in store for me this year? And so that's the dream I had.
So this is
So let me continue. So in answer to your question, I felt like the police officers were like, it was good. They were kind of like working for the Lord, looking for the Lord. For some reason, I felt like they were looking for Jesus. And look, I'm not an expert. You guys know more than I do, okay?
Right.
And then I felt like, because I'm a prayer minister, I felt like the communication between me and God, something was off with that. Like, and I couldn't get it back up because the computer gives us, it's a communication or, something like that. And then that, and I don't know. I've had last week, they interpreted a dream about dogs. I had 2 dogs and puppies as well. So there's something about dogs and puppies for me in my dreams.
Right. Okay. So this is kind of the sense that I'm getting. As a prayer minister, you're an intercessor and you're praying for people, right?
I pray for people.
Yeah. And you just kind of intercede for them on their behalf. Is it like people call in with requests? Is that how your system works? And then you just,
Yes.
you text them, so is it a live chat and you pray, or you just get the request in as an email and then
I work for Womack Ministries, and it's a 24/7 prayer line. And so I'm a work from home prayer minister. So I have a headset. The call comes through the computer, and I answer the call that way.
Yeah. So this is the sense that I'm getting. Okay.
Okay.
I'm not sure that the police are working for the Lord. I didn't get that sense, but I for sure got the sense that they're looking for somebody, that there's some kind of a problem, right? And so you're looking out the side of your house. You're really at your home. Your office is where your home is, right? And so there's really a need. I mean, there's something happening, and people are looking for someone, and there's some kind of a need. You're aware in your home that there's some kind of a need, and there's people out there that need help, right? And so you're now back at your office. When your head was down, do you know if you were, what was the emotion attached with your head being down?
See, that's what I don't know. I don't know if I was asleep. I don't know if I was late coming back from my lunch break. I had this sense it was about 10 to 15 minutes. I was kind of like with my head down, and I had lifted my head, and I was like, oh, and I just had this almost like,
Well, I for sure heard like a blackout, like Tammy. For sure, the loudest thing that I heard was a blackout. Okay, so let me just go with what for sure the loudest symbol that I heard. For sure, I heard blackout. So for sure, you're at a place in the first scene where you are aware in your home that they're outside of your home. There's this need. People are needing, in need. The police are out looking for someone, so there's some kind of a need out there. For sure, I heard blackout. It was the loudest thing that I heard. And there's going to be, whether it's some kind of a physical disruption or some kind of, well, you just said you went back to work. So maybe there was a season where you weren't functioning at work, but there's a season where you weren't performing, and almost like you were in a timeout, right? So you're aware of a need, but in the second dream, second scene, for whatever reason, you're not able to perform as a prayer minister. And so I think the third scene then is just a sign of rest. So because the police were outside of your home, right? The police were outside of your home. You knew there was a need out there. You're a prayer minister. You're wanting to help. You try to go do the prayer thing, but you're not able to, right? So there's that blackout, some kind of a pause. But then the police come into your home. They come into your home and say, okay, well, maybe there's some kind of a need in here. There's some kind of a need in here. Inside of your house, there's a need instead of outside of your house. And then that's where the lady is with the small puppies. Now, most people, puppies are like, the coolest thing, right? And so they're a great refuel or reinvigoration or a cool moment of, just hanging out with puppies. Tell me about the symbol of the lady. What was she? Anybody you knew, or she just was attached to the puppies?
I didn't know her. She seemed to be maybe my age. She had blondish, grayish, blondish hair. She looked like, I don't think she was mad at me. She just had a look on her face that she was just directly looking at me. Tired, fed up. I don't know.
Okay. And then And could it have been you at some previous time in your life? Were you looking at yourself? Now, how old are your dogs?
My dogs are 7 and 6.
So your dogs would have been puppies when? 7 years ago, 6 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
Is there something that was happening in your life 6 or 7 years ago when your dogs were puppies, that there's some kind of a need that's still there, that now the needs come into your own house? And so I'm getting a sense that, so here's the two senses that I'm going with. Okay. So
You know what? I missed a very key point too. As I went into that room, it goes into the it's like a living room. It goes into the sliding doors into the backyard. That's how they came into the back of my house. And actually, Noelle, I found her there. She showed up in my backyard just after I got my other dog. But right next to the door was an empty dog crate. I forgot that part.
So
An empty crate.
right. So the empty dog crate, and then you find the puppies, right?
And then the lady was sitting next to the dog crate with her puppies.
Okay.
Two
Were they her
puppies.
puppies, or was that you at a previous point in
I
your
think
life?
it was her puppies. Her puppies.
Okay. So for sure, this is what I'm hearing. And then the question then becomes, what's the symbol of the woman? Okay. For sure, there was a need on the outside of your house, right? Something off to the side. Then there's a time when you're not able to function in your prayer ministry. And then there's a time when the need comes into your own home, right? I do get a sense, and I would ask the question, what did your life look like? If there's something that the Lord is wanting you to focus on, your prayer, your healing, your intercessory, that happened 6 years ago when your dogs were puppies, and is it possible that you were looking? Now, if that symbol isn't actually you, then it's somebody that is in your house and has close access to you, who then your prayer focus should be on. So I do get the sense is there was a need outside of your home. There was a blackout section for you. And then that need came into your house. And as a prayer intercessor, then the need's closer to home. That's a better way to say it. Tammy, what are you hearing?
I did hear a couple things. So more after I was able to just kind of get my distractions out of my head. Now, something really unique is I have 2 brand new puppies. So that's kind of an interesting aspect. But I also see that there's a new distraction that's keeping you from your original calling.
Mm-hmm.
So the 2 puppies are distracting, you're playing with them, which is good to play because, the Lord wants us to enjoy ourselves. But as soon as you get your dogs, right, you sense them, you stop interacting with the puppies, the distraction, the new thing, and then you put the focus back on them. So I think that is kind of got something significant to it. And there's some type of authority, and maybe there's authority either you've given to someone else to enter into, or that you, because they're entering in. So there's some authority that you've given these people that are searching for something, right? So I don't necessarily get the sense that they're good or bad, because you talk to, police can have nefarious things, especially if they're upholding unlawful things, right? So maybe there's something that you have given authority to that's causing a distraction.
Okay, that makes sense. I don't know exactly what, but that makes sense.
Can I ask you a question? I know that we've prayed for you previously or answered questions for you with cancer, relating to cancer. How long ago did you get a cancer diagnosis? Your first was
last October was the cancer diagnosis.
Okay. Was there any kind of health related issues happening before that 6 years ago? And if you're not comfortable, you don't have to ask. You could just think about that offline. But
well, yeah.
Yeah. So any of what we said resonate with you?
Well, see, I'll tell you, Andrew Womack is who I work for, and he's a teacher and has a Bible college and stuff. And when somebody sent me a link to him which connected me to his audio teachings. And that's how I fell in love with him. I just listen. He's a great teacher. And I've always dreamed since I, been, since I rededicated my life to the Lord about 10 years ago. And I had a dream of Andrew passing by me. I was in a shop and I was talking to the shop lady, and he passed by me and she said, "Do you want what he has?" And I went, no way, because Andrew's like, in my mind, he's big. He's got this big platform. He's in ministry. And I took it like I was called to the ministry like him, like a teacher. And I started to prepare for that. And that could have been around that time frame that you were asking about. And then, so when the cancer diagnosis, I was really like, wait a minute, how does this fit in with the plans that you had for me? Because I thought I was supposed to do this, this, and this, and this. And I do work for him, but this is a smaller scale. Nothing wrong with what I'm doing. I'm not saying that, but it's not what I thought. And so maybe that, I don't know.
Well, that's interesting. I would definitely ask the Lord for more information and seek confirmation. But I do like kind of the direction Tammy was getting. I would ask, what there was an outside need that went into an internal need, and just ask the Lord what you're talking about. See what He says.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
thank you for your help. I appreciate it. I'm going to play it back later and write it out and pray into it again.
Any
So
final
thanks.
thoughts, Tammy? Anything else?
Not really. I would just ask, God also, like, if you've given any authority to something that maybe it isn't supposed to have access to, the door into your world.
So are you talking like maybe like coming into agreement with or something like that?
Well, because basically, I mean, they have to have authority to enter your house, or they have to have permission. So they have to be given access. And it's, I would ask the Lord exactly, is it a good access or a bad access? Because they're searching for something, right? And you're just letting them do it, right? You're not stopping them. So is there something that you need to stop that you've given access to?
I got you. Okay.
But
All
I
right.
would
Well,
ask the Lord for clear
yeah.
direction on that,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. All right. Well, again, thank you so much for taking my dream, and y'all have a blessed night.
Thank you. Well, we lost. There's Kayla. She bailed out. Thank you. Cheers. So there's Kayla. We're gonna add Kayla in. We lost you for a second, but we're glad you're back.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
All righty. So with this stream, it's actually pretty exciting. I have a good idea on the meaning of it. So, but I just wanted to see what you guys get with it, and kind of maybe delve into the specifics and everything. So I dreamt my family and I were suddenly moving into another house. And my in-laws had purchased a new house for us because it was actually cheaper than the smaller house that we were previously living in. So that's the house that we are in now, which our in-laws actually bought for us. So I got the impression that it was around 190,000, and the value of our current house that we are in is actually around 250,000. So they would actually make a profit off of the off selling this house. And it was really unexpected. It was like one day we were in this small cramped house, and then we were living that we currently live in, and suddenly we were moving into this spacious house. It had a large great room with the kitchen and living room that was probably bigger than our entire first floor that we are in now. And it had many bedrooms. I don't know the exact number. And it had other rooms that could be made into bedrooms if we needed to use them for other purposes, like if we had any more children or guests or whatnot. It also had a laboratory, which I thought was really fun. Excuse my kids yelling in the background. And then there are people that are helping us to move everything in. And I remember needing to get moved in quickly because my husband had to go to work in the morning. We also had a neighbor there who was an elderly woman who lived by herself, and she was wanting me to come over to help her water her plants. And she was kind of demanding about it, like not in a mean way, but just like she just had an, oh my goodness. Can you please move to your room, sweetie, while I do this? And okay. Are you okay, baby? I'm sorry, hold on a second. Are you all right? All right, well, come sit next to me, sweetie. Okay. And so she was kind of just had an unreasonable expectation about it, just thinking that I could just kind of drop everything and go and help her. And as you could hear, I have kids, and so that doesn't really work, you know, especially when you're moving. Come here, sweetie, sit next to me. And
5 to be exact.
yes, thank you, Angel.
I will.
I'll give you a hug. Come here. So we never have a dull moment. Here's another one. So
This is me.
yeah. So so my attitude, like, I wasn't like bitter about it or anything. I was just kind of like, well, I mean, I'll get to it when I get to it, but you know, my family comes first. So it wasn't until Dave, you can't do that, baby. Here, I gotta move my arm this way. So it wasn't until about 5 that early evening when I was able to get around to going to helping her. And I remember as I was walking over, it was dark. And I feel like most of the dream was actually dark, which was interesting to me because we were there most of the day. So I just remember as I was walking over there, I was just flabbergasted. I was just like processing what had just happened. And it was just, just the suddenness of this blessing. Because before, like just a few days ago, we had been completely clueless that this was even going to happen. And then just bam, we were moving.
Yeah, Mom's told me this dream before.
I know, sweetheart. So as I was going to her front door, I remember walking into, when I first walked in, it was like the kitchen area, had a little kitchen table, a small kitchen table, and her house was pretty cluttered. And she had me go into her dining room area, and she was wanting me to help her kind of clear out and organize the dining room table in that area because she was expecting guests to come over. So she wanted me to help with that. And that was the dream.
Okay, so I'll let Tammy give it a go, but no, you said you kind of had a sense. I'd be curious to hear what you thought of it.
Yeah. So God has been continually speaking to us about.
Sorry, please stop all the noises.
Okay, you can always go, sweetie.
You told me to sit next.
All right, I know. I'm trying to do something real quick, okay?
Okay.
Interrupting. So God's been really speaking to us a lot about his promises, like bringing those into fruition. Because there's been just a large delay of the promises for probably about like 10 years, honestly. It just things that he's spoken that hasn't come to pass. And I feel like from especially words that I've been seeing from like Lana Valzer and Nate and Christy Johnston, there's been a lot of like God's been really speaking about people that have felt like they were in that delay where they've been waiting for God's promises and they've been hearing him and it hasn't come about. In fact, it's been delayed, or it seems it's just even that those promises, even just it's like there doesn't seem like any possible way that those can come about. And so I feel like the Lord is just talking about taking us out of the situation that we're in, that seems like cluttered and cramped, and bringing us and expanding our territory. Rather that, I don't know if that means like a literal move, or if it's symbolic as in like taking us into a place where we can actually have the place to do the things that he wants us to do. the laboratory especially was really exciting to me because laboratory is a place where you can make new creations. You can create, you can experiment, you can try out new things. And we've just been in a place where we haven't been able to do that for so long.
You aren't kidding.
And no, we haven't been able to even delve into hobbies that we like because of just kind of the area that we are right now in our life. And so then in a place where there's room for growth, because of the mini rooms and the rooms that can be made into bedrooms, the potential for new children. So, new children can represent like new ministries or this, or,
Right.
things like that. And so I'm trying to, I think that's the gist of what I got of it. Of the other specifics, especially the last part of it, like with the neighbor, I thought that maybe that could be I had a guess. I'm not really sure. So I was wondering if it had to do with like a ministry of like working with what was the idea that I had? Kind of like the old systems within the church or something, and like bringing like new life to that, but like not in a way that it's going to be able to dictate to me and try to confine me, but try to but being a what do you want to call it? Like, but ministering in a way that again, like it brings life and it serves them. It's not it's someone that that could come and like to not like demand on them, hey, this is the way we're going to do things, but
Right.
like into to their
Let me tell you kind of what I'm hearing. Okay, so just to be clear, the whole dream was kind of dark. Like when you say dark, it was kind of like the lighting was dark.
Yeah.
So it wasn't really bright.
No.
So, and was there any emotion that came with the dark?
No, I mean, it didn't bother me at all that it was dark.
So it was like the sun was setting or the sun was rising or it was dimly lit?
Like, it just seemed like it was just during the nighttime, which was, like I said, which is interesting. Given that
it was all day. Yeah. It's kind of weird because there's the prophetic word that we see kind of dimly through a window. So I did get a sense the second part was a mindset. And then just to clarify, you're currently kind of in a smaller house and you're praying and hoping for a larger house. And in the dream, you get a larger house, right? That's how it starts out. And in the natural, you are really living in a house that your mother, somebody bought for you, and then in the dream, you're gonna be getting a house that somebody bought for you. Is that correct?
Yeah. So like in the natural and in the dream, it was the same. Like my in-laws bought us the current house that we were in now, and so in the dream, that was also the case.
But it was a bigger version.
But they bought us. They just happened to find a house on the market that was cheaper than we were at now, so they just went ahead and bought that house.
Right.
And then,
but there'll be more equity and more opportunity for growth. It's a better investment.
Yeah, which is this is really what we've been praying on a lot, because it's not just the house that we're living in; it's also just the lack of opportunities that we're just.
And I just get a sense too that it's just the stage of life you're in. Like you're really, there's an overwhelming sense of just the reality of just the needs of a mother. But let me ask Tammy what she's getting, then I'll tell you what I'm getting for it.
Okay. Well, obviously I see that your blessings are going to come quickly, but God had me look at the difference between 190 and 250, which is 60. And I immediately heard Psalm 60. And it's nothing. It basically, it talks about feeling rejected by God, but verse 5, which I felt 5, save us and help us with your right hand, that those who love you may be delivered. But the enemy is being delivered basically to them, to David, as he fought armies, right? So, which would be a dark time, right? Like you're basically fighting the enemy to get the blessings that you want, right? Because he always wants to still kill and destroy. But I feel like the 5 p.m. So 5 is, God's grace. So he's going to give you grace to go into things that you're going to have a chance to reorganize, but you're going to have to set boundaries. So it's letting you know you need to set the boundaries, even though they're insistent and they're demanding, like you need to come and do this now. And you have to do it and set the boundaries. Otherwise, it's here's my mental health going over. It's not healthy if you have unhealthy boundaries, and you have the importance of knowing that your family is first.
Mhm.
So it's a reminder to keep that
Mhm.
you have God's grace to do this, but set the boundaries. That's kind of what I'm hearing, Cody.
I love that you said the word boundaries, because it kind of wraps and ties together what I'm saying. And so I do get, so first of all, yay, let's pray into the blessings and the things that you're hoping and promising and believe, and thank God that he's already going to deliver them. I do get a sense of a burden with this dream, that there's a reality of a heaviness or a burden. And I think boundaries is a better word for it, is that the reality is that the mindset of being pulled in too many directions. I got the second half of the dream was for sure a mindset of responsibilities, overwhelming responsibilities. Like why am I helping my neighbor? Like, what's the point of all this? And so I think that there is a contrast between what you're praying and hoping and believing for and the reality of your current situation. I do think it's going to be significant that it's dimly lit through the whole thing. And that's kind of how we see in the prophetic anyway, is, like looking through a dimly lit window. So here's what I would take the actionable intelligence is exactly what Tammy said. Watch the boundaries, and your responsibilities and your family is first. And then I would pray and thank the Lord for the blessing and the things that you're hoping for. The challenge that I'm getting and was more of an emotion and of feeling over, and I don't see, this isn't even the right word, so I don't know how to say what I'm feeling. I don't want to say overburdened, but definitely pulled in 100 directions, right? So why do I have to go help this lady, right? I didn't necessarily get that was a positive thing. I didn't get that was, why am I setting this lady's table? I need to be setting my own table. I just moved into the house, for sure. I got that. Why am I doing this for this lady? I've just moved in. I've got all these responsibilities. Why am I doing all these other things when I should be doing something else? So boundaries is a good sense for that. So what I'm saying is pray and hope and believe for the beginning of it, set the healthy boundaries, and watch what your commitment level is. And I think that this is a dream that the Lord is showing you what something to pray into and believe for, but he's also showing you that a bigger house comes more responsibility, and there's burdens of responsibility. I guess that's what I'm saying. Burdens of over responsibility, because a big house comes with more responsibility. It's a cool promise. Does any of that resonate with you, Tammy? Did you have anything else to add to that?
There's a sense of being rushed too, and that can create like this like panic or frustration, because you're like it's like everything's going to come at once, but you're going to have to learn to balance now, like be prepared for the balance now.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Does any of it resonate?
Yeah, I think so. Just I feel like that's kind of what I'm doing right now, is just learning how to manage the current obstacles that I have right now in front of me, because I feel like that, even though it seems mundane, that to me is like, I'm sorry, sweetie. Okay, all right. I'm sorry. I'll try to go get her. So I feel like that for me is like preparation for whenever, God calls us into more. Because, I've had a business that's been on hold for like 3 or 4 years now. And so I haven't been able to do that. But I was, as I was thinking about that, I'm like, how in the world am I even going to actually manage the business if I can't manage my family? I have to do this first. I have to make sure that, I have my house in order before I go and try to take on something else.
And that's a good word. I mean, that's actually really, really the right word, is like, you're hoping and believing for this new, bigger house, but with it comes all this huge responsibility and these additional neighbors. But I think the word with boundaries is exactly what you just said, is you got to manage what you currently have while you're hoping for the new thing.
Exactly. So it's definitely that grace of like, okay, like help me do this, Lord, because I'm one person, and so sometimes it can be challenging, but he's been giving me tools and things to help make things more efficient, and
I just want
especially.
to add to it. Can I add to it? Because now I'm just getting something new too. Because I just want to add to it. Okay. Because I think one of the significant symbols of the whole dream is that it's all dimly lit. This thing that you're hoping for is dimly lit in the same lighting that this additional burden of this neighbor. So the neighbor is definitely an additional burden, right? So I do get the sense that we can hope and pray, and you should hope and pray, but I think the word is that you've got to manage what you currently have and work and be successful in this environment that you have. The new house would be great, but it would come with additional responsibilities and burdens that are represented as this unruly neighbor who's demanding of your time. And the reality is you should be fixing your own house, but you're helping set her table, and you need to be setting your table. And so I think there is a calling, like Tammy said, about boundaries. And I think that you need to be focused on managing your own house. Like you said, it's okay to hope and pray for this, but I get a sense that the solution that you're looking for is this new house, and the Lord's saying that this new house isn't going to be the solution. The solution's managing right now.
I agree. Yeah, that's something the Lord has been showing me too. And then there was this dream was like, I don't know. It was not. It was recent. It was a little bit ago, but I think sometime after that, there was just during one of my just as I was praying with the Lord on some of these things, the Lord just he showed me, it's like, you're exactly where you need to be. You didn't miss anything. You're not, like, nothing is holding you back right now. Like, you are exactly where you need to be right now. And it just helps me to just be confident where I am, just not to rush, and just like, okay, like whatever is here, I can be present, and I can receive whatever it is that I need to receive. And it's hard to stay in that. Like, I have to like remind myself that though, because sometimes
That's
it
a
is
good word.
hard.
It's a good word. And I would encourage you to bookmark this and go back and watch it, because that could be an encouraging word to hear yourself and to realize that. But I think that's the solid word that you're going to have to rest in. And we thank you, Kayla, for thanking on. We got a couple more people in the back, so I want to move on. Is there any additional comments, Kayla, you wanted to add before we moved on?
That's all. Thank you.
Yeah, we appreciate you coming on. We look forward to seeing you again. Thank you. Alrighty. Okay, so we have, I don't know how to say this name, so forgive me. It's Antrina and Daniel. So we've got a couple people in the back, and we're going to move on to Antrina, and then we'll go to Daniel. Are you there? I know I messed up your name. Please forgive me. Tell me how to say it again. You're muted, so we didn't get you.
Oh, sorry. It's Antrina.
Antrina, that's right. I know I've seen you, and I recognize you, and I know you've been on lots of times, so forgive me.
That's okay. Okay, so I don't want to do a long one. So last week I had a dream about me going to view a home. There were a lot of other people there. Going out, please. Thank you. And my oldest son, he was with me. And in the dream, I'm just thinking to myself, the house is beautiful. It had some granite counters. It was a lot of earth tones. It was like a dark brown with some, it was marble, a lot of marble, dark brown and black in it. And it was some other people there, the family that actually lived there. The family was in the process of doing laundry, and she had like 3 washers and then 2 dryers and another set of washers. So I'm thinking, like, how many kids does she have? It was like a lot of clothes everywhere that she was in the process of folding. And I'm thinking to myself, I need to go see the basement. I need to go see upstairs. But at the same time, I'm thinking to myself, I cannot afford this. And I'm thinking, like, it must be about $4 million for this home, because it was huge. then my son went outside, and there was like, I'm not sure what you call it, but it was almost like a a billboard, not a billboard, but like a sign to like a company versus like a residential property. And then I shut the front door and was just looking outside, and I'm like, oh, and I seen it said on the some type of clock outside the door, a time. I think it was 102 or 107 or something like that. And I was just telling my son, I'm like, come on, we need to go. And it just in the dream to me, it just was, I wasn't, it wasn't a lot of faith because I'm thinking to myself, okay, God can do this, but I'm just like, I don't know, you know. So, but that was just my mindset. That was just my attitude. You need to go step away for a second, okay?
All right, so let me ask you a couple questions, and I think it's my turn to go first. I don't remember, Tim. You're gonna have to tell me.
It doesn't matter. I mean, I could go first or second.
Okay.
I think I kind of went first last time,
Okay,
but
so
not.
I'll go first.
No.
But let me ask a couple questions. So, just at the beginning, you are with your oldest son, and you're looking for a new house, right?
Yes.
And what's the need behind the new house? Why are you guys looking for a new house?
That's a desire that I have. Currently, I have 5 children, and I want a home. I want a house. So, and for the purpose of just being courteous to the neighbors, because they can get loud, but just to have my own property, that's a desire of mine.
Yes, absolutely. And so is this kind of like a dream house scenario where you're in this massive kind of multi-million-dollar kind of dream house is what you're looking at, and you have your son with you?
Yes.
Yeah. And so you're kind of, and it's kind of a hopeful expectation. But you kind of only mentioned some colors of the palette of the place. And then you have, you've talked about the laundry room and how many washing machines there are. And then you talked about the basement, right?
Yeah, going to look at the basement, but I didn't actually go, and then going to look at upstairs. But the rest, yeah, I seen the flooring was like white, and then there was some type of decorative stuff that was black.
Yeah.
On the walls.
Okay. And then you went outside and saw some kind of a sign or a billboard for a company versus residential living.
Yeah.
Can you explain that?
Yeah, my son, he went and walked towards it, and it was just like something red across the screen. I didn't get to see it, but I could see that there was something going across the screen on the sign. And then I looked out, and then outside too was there was a stone, a brown stone, very large, and then it was granite, the same color that was inside on the outside, in the front. And then when I shut the door, there was just like a clock or something there with a time. And then I opened the door back up and told him to come back inside.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you what I heard, and then I'm going to let Tammy go, and then we'll let it see. And I'm going to tell it based on the way you told the dream. Okay, so there may be way more details, but
Okay.
you did tell the dream a certain way, and you can always go back and play it to see the way that you told the dream.
Okay.
And so that, tell me the significance, because you did mention the dark brown and the black and the marbles. What's the significance of the colors? That was the color palette, and how did that resonate with you? Are these the color palette of your dream house?
I like more earth tones. I wouldn't necessarily say that dark brown, but it looked expensive.
Right. So it had a luxurious feel. So you like more earth tones, and this just felt luxurious. So this was like definitely a dream. I keep saying dream house. This is some kind of like a dream house scenario, and yet you're more practical.
Yeah.
Okay. Right on. And then, so you say you're looking at the house, you talk about the colors of the house, but then you say, man, there's all this laundry, and how many kids does she have, and how many washing machines are there? And then I actually heard dirty laundry. And then basement, you wanted to go to the basement and upstairs, but you never went to the basement. And so that, to me, that's getting the bottom of the things. And then you talked about this billboard, which was the contrast between a company and residential. And then there was a timing situation, right? So this is what I'm going to give you, and then I'm going to let Tammy give it a go. So I think what the Lord's saying is, the Lord, I'm going to start with this, is that the basement, it doesn't always, but for sure, it's like, okay, let's get to the bottom of this. What's really happening here? You have a desire for something nice, and I don't think you need to answer us, but I think what the Lord's saying is, okay, what's the deal here? And then just because something looks a lot nicer and a lot bigger doesn't necessarily always mean that it's going to be bigger, because the strongest symbol that I heard was dirty laundry. So a lot of times what happens with when we look, so the comparison game can kill anyone's life, because we compare our lives to someone else's. And so when we're looking at this luxurious lifestyle in this big giant house, for sure I heard dirty laundry. So it's not always as good as what it looks like. And I think that's what that means there. It means things look a lot better than they potentially are. And so I think the question the Lord would ask you, and I don't expect you to answer us, I think this is something that you're going to take to the Lord, is that, okay, what's at the root of your desire to want something new and bigger and more glamorous? Okay. And I do get the sense of what's the story between where you are and what this is. And I do get the sense that the Lord is saying, hey, I've got you. It's not the right time right now. I think that the timing, I would encourage you to jump into what is 102 and the significance of 107, because I do believe that there's going to be something there. I'm not hearing anything on that, but I do get the sense that the Lord is going to give you something better. I don't think it's the right timing right now. I'm not speaking that over you. You're going to have to take that to the Lord and see what he says. That's going to be for you to pray into. Well, here's the thing, man. It says you're not having a lot of faith. You're looking, but you're not having a lot of faith that this thing can actually happen. I see Daniel in the back doesn't agree with me. Tammy, what are you hearing?
Well, first of all, I heard mindset, right? You have this mindset that you can only afford so much, right? Like you have this mindset that you can't afford things, and it can impact how we see things. So that was one of the first things. The other thing that stood out to me was marble, right? The fact that you mentioned marble, you mentioned granite, but you also mentioned marble, but you mentioned stones. There was a brown stone, there was a marble. I have this really cool Bible app that looks up everything. And I looked up marble, and First Chronicles 29:2, which I think it's funny, or not funny, it's a God thing, right? So David is talking, and he says, Solomon, my son, whom alone God has chosen, your son is with you. And this verse is specifically saying that David is addressing his son. And then it goes into provide. So I have provided for the house of my God. I was able to, the gold for the things of gold, the silver for the things of silver, the bronze for the things of bronze, and iron for the things of iron, and wood for the things of wood. And then it goes to onyx and stones and setting and antimony colored stones and all precious stones and marbles. Oh no, we lost her. Oh, there we go. Okay. So it's like David wasn't able to build everything, but he provided everything for his son. So I think there's something that you're providing for your son as well, and to have faith that your son's going to accomplish things that maybe you fear aren't going to, and that there's a lot of laundry, like Cody was talking about. There's a lot of dirty laundry. So maybe there's some things in the past that need to be dealt with, family things, so that your son can, reach the potential that he has, and your role in that, because he's with you. And it could be part of the mindset too.
Okay. Yeah.
Is any of that resonating? For sure, pray into it. Don't take our word for it. See what the Lord confirms and see what you get from the Lord. But does any of that resonate with you?
Oh, yeah, most definitely. I know. Just hold on, sweetie. Just within the past couple of months, it's been weighing heavy, our family dynamic. With my son, he's been really struggling in school, academically and behaviorally. But I'm just like, okay, I need to get him to a place where, as far as, I can't do it, but being that example of, a godly role model, instead of like, the Grinch all the time getting on him, because I'm a single mother. But so wearing a lot of hats, and it's a challenge, but that's in the forefront. It's just like I need to get them to this place of, where I desired to be when I was his age. And I feel like sometimes it's a heavy burden to do that. I put too much on my shoulders. Really, it's just I really need to give it up to God, as far as in prayer over them. But yeah, some of that resonates, and I'm going to pray into it. Yeah. Hold on. Okay. Thank you, guys.
Yes, thank you. We're so glad you came. We look forward to seeing you again.
All right.
Cheers. All right, so we've got Daniel about to come in. We have Cheryl back there. We haven't. Okay, so we're gonna bring Daniel in now.
Hey, Cody. Hey, Tammy. How you guys doing?
Excellent.
I don't know if you remember back when it was actually with you, both of you, that when my son and I came on, we had some kind of revelation dreams. Well, like I said to you guys back then, there was actually a third dream, and I know you need to give other people some time, but I want to come back on and share that third dream.
Yeah, right on.
That I actually had it January 31st this year.
Okay.
The dream goes, the sun was blotted out this weekend. This weakened the angels, but it's like an apocalyptic battle to basically say what it is. This weakened the angels, but didn't make them helpless. While in a meeting on what to do as we were on the verge of losing the war, we needed something. This is the military resistance against the dark, basically. One general said, "We need the sun back." At that moment, I had an epiphany. I had a flashback of a battle where a previous battle where I saw an angel actually die on the battlefield. I was with him when he passed. After the flashback, I said to the general, "Then we will have to make one." After determining I would lead the project to make the weapon, the general said to me, "It's a great idea." I then stated, "It is not my idea. He is with us," meaning God. When the weapon was finally created utilizing ultraviolet rays, it turned the tide of the war. Now, some notes that I took on it, just to see if you guys agree with me and on any of this, is the dream, to me, has reference of the events coming after the sixth seal is opened in Revelation in Isaiah 13:10. I think the reference to all the darkness weakening the angels, I'm not sure as to the reference with the angels dying. I have heard angels cannot die unless this is influenced from television and movies, because they tend to show that angels die and, evil wins type of stuff. It was a traumatic thing that still haunts me to see, even in a dream, to see an angel die. Perhaps it is persuasion from God of hopelessness of the situation without the light of God. I don't know. I find it interesting that, as Revelation dictates, during the tribulation, God removes all his presence from the earth. Yet states to me he is still with us, who are the true believers. And also a beacon of hope that he gave, inspired to me the idea to win the day.
Well, that's a super cool dream. Thank you for the additional thoughts. Okay, so let's just repeat the actual dream. Now, is this a dream that you had or your son had?
No, this is the dream that I had. I had like the first dream when I was back on the show. That was kind of like, I feel like the first dream in the series, and then my son was the second. Then I had a third one because this is much later into the actual Armageddon period.
Okay, so this is an apocalyptic battle in this military resistance against the evil, right? And then,
and we're in like a military base underground kind of thing.
Okay, so you're underground, and you guys are kind of on the. You guys are needing something. Yeah, you're getting almost being overrun. And what you have a flashback of an angel dying, which then gives you the inspiration to create this ultraviolet weapon, right? Which you believe comes from God. And so how does the weapon work?
I don't know exactly. Almost like kind of the idea of how, like, I've watched movies over my life, and they had like an ultraviolet kind of a gun, but it's, instead of just being like a gun, it's more like a thing that just emits a massive amount of ultraviolet rays, like you would see on like some of the vampire movies where they would fight the vampires because of the ultraviolet rays.
Right. But does it show as light, or how does the?
Yeah, it does. It lights up the day. It lights up the day.
Yeah, so it's that I got it was light, so that's what I got for that. And then you said, "Don't thank me, thank God, He is with us,"
Exactly.
right? You said, "Thank
Yes.
God, He is with us," right? Um, okay, and then that's where it ends.
Yeah, basically, it turned it like I said, it turned the tide of the war, and we started winning.
Yeah, so it turns the tide of the war, and then you start winning, and it leads to victory. Yeah, and then in context to the three dreams, they all kind of tie together, and this is kind of like the finale where this is the
Yeah, I would say, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What now in the part where you saw the angel dying? That's intriguing to me. So can you tell me how the angel died in this flashback?
In the flashback, it was like a demon came and slayed him down and mortally wounded him. And I was like in the vicinity of the area, and then I ran up and saw the angel pass. I stayed with him till the end, kind of thing. And it was like a mortal wound, almost like a slash wound from like talons or from a demon or some type of sword or something. I don't remember that the exact details of that part, but just that the angel was passing.
Right on. And where was the wound at on the angel?
Oh, like chest okay, area.
Right. Over the heart, kind of.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So, he speaks in metaphors. I don't I don't believe I'm not sure on the doctrinal correctness of this, but I'm not sure angels die. That's why there's a bottomless pit where they'll be forever. Right. So I do think they're visual metaphors, and they're representing something. So Tammy, if you're okay, you're going to go, or you want me to keep talking?
No, I can go totally.
Okay.
So I'm seeing this as kind of like what's going on now, right? It feels like the sun is blotted out, right? Like we've blotted out the sun in America. We've blotted out the churches have blotted out the power of Jesus, all those kinds of things. So it's not that he's gone. It's just that it feels as if he's not there. So it feels dark. The times are dark.
Exactly.
It feels apocalyptical. There's different people who believe that we're in that, we're not in it. But basically that's what it feels like. You feel like we're on the verge of losing the war. And the main key that stood out to me is we need the sun back. We need to put Jesus as key. He needs to be at the top. And that is the way we win the war. His light, his power, right? And so he gives you, like you even say, I was given this God-given idea, this weapon, this power. So you're taking the power of the Lord and you're using that in what he gives you, and you pass it on. And it's almost like an underground church. When you said it was underground, I heard underground church.
Yes. Yeah, that's actually a good, interesting point.
So I feel like this is stuff that's like the underground warriors are going to bring the sun back, and his light is what wins the war. That's what I'm hearing.
Wow, that resonates with me. I remember my chiropractor who went over to Greece. Like I told you before, he was Greek. He told me that there's a lot of underground churches that he got to see that were beautiful things. So that really resonates with me.
Yeah, that's awesome. For sure, the loudest symbol that I heard was the weapon of light, and that's what we do is we expose the darkness by putting the light, shining the light, and then ultimately what Tammy said about that weapon being Jesus, right? And so, so there is a point. Now we know Jesus isn't an angel, right? But there is a point where the devil thinks that he has defeated Christ, right? That ultimately Christ crushes his head, and then we do get the victory. So I do think that this is an example of our past, but something that is even happening in our present, but it's something for our future. That there's a time where it is pretty dark, but I do think that we are going to get the victory, and the victory is going to come to us through Jesus Christ.
I feel the same way. I feel like that's why I wanted to come on and share it. I mean, I felt it was like a really hopeful dream too. Like, I mean, just that the light wins. As Pastor Dave Schuyler always says, light wins.
Yeah, he does. And the cool part is that we get to play our part, right? And so, you would think that the general, it was a general, right?
Yes, a general, and I'm a general in the dream as well.
Okay, so you're a general in the Lord. So the cool part is that you have a part to play. So I think that part of what your actionable intelligence is the Lord saying that you have a part to play in this, and that is to use the weapon that you've been given, and that is to shine the light of Jesus onto people and problems. And I think that's a practical and a physical application where you're going to do that, and that's a calling over you. How does that sound?
Sounds pretty much right on. I mean, I've been doing a lot of that now. I've been talking to people, just kind of trying to spread the word as much as I can. I don't have an outlet like like Pastor Dave or even you guys here, where I get a mass. I get a lot of people that watch the show, but I still do my part. I try to preach the good word.
That's what we do. Just the people around us, the people that we can touch, and ask the Lord to show
exactly.
you. Yeah,
exactly.
Well, we appreciate you coming on. I think it was a cool dream. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
If you don't have any more comments, or Tammy, I'm going to let you go. Anything else?
Yep. No, thank you again, both. And by the way, I don't know if you were commenting on the previous one where I was shaking my head. I was actually my youngest is in the other room eating, and my wife told me that he was asking for ketchup, so I was laughing and shaking my head at him.
I thought you were telling me no,
no, not you, nothing to do with you. I think that was for me.
All right. Cheers, Daniel. All right, we're about to bring Cheryl on, and I'm going to share. Before we bring Cheryl, wait, how much time do we have? What time is it? So we got about 20 minutes. We could probably do one more after Cheryl. I'm going to share the invite. There's a lot of dreams happening in the chat. I would encourage some of you who are sharing dreams in the chat to jump into StreamYard. We do have a hard cutoff because Tammy and I have a meeting at 7 that we have to be prompt on, but we are going to bring Cheryl in now. Cheryl, welcome to the show.
Hey.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
We got you.
Okay. Well, I seem to have a lot of dreams about houses I used to live in, and usually I'm going to clean them out. But this one is a strange one because it's from a house I lived in when I was a teenager. And there's a lot of strange things in this dream, and a lot of details. So I was at a house that we used to live in on Celeste Road. I didn't know if the name of the road meant anything, but I was preparing to cook a fish dinner for my husband and I reached into the cabinet to get cornmeal to bread the fish. And when I opened it up, I found it had a dead rat in it. Well, one of my brothers was in the house, so I just passed that on to him to discard it. I turned to wash my hands in the sink, but the sink was full of dirty water to the point of almost overflowing. And I asked my sisters, I come from a large family. There was 12 of us. So I asked my sisters why they couldn't let it out. So my youngest sister did. And on the table was a box with junk in it. But for some reason, I had a pot of beans in the middle of it, and it was cooking, simmering. And I went to stir the pot, and when I did, it tipped, and I noticed there was a dead dog in it. So I've got a dead rat and a dead dog. And someone came for a TV that we had for sale, a big old console TV. And we were selling it for $400. And I had two of my brothers help them load it up. And when they were loading it, a dead cat fell out of that. And so I'm still attempting to cook the fish dinner in all of this. And all during the whole dream, the whole time, I was also being careful of a white gown, kind of like a wedding gown, and trying to keep it clean. It was after dinner when I was to put on the gown, and I began battling an evil spirit hindering me from putting on the gown. It was revealed to me that it was the witch of Endor. The witch was casting spells over me that I would in turn speak the word to combat her, all the while trying to put on the gown and keep it clean. The power of the witch was almost too strong to overcome, but with the word, I was still able to do it. Each spell she cast was more powerful than the last, so I had more and more difficulty beating her. In the background, I could see another witch, older and more cunning, giving direction and instruction to the witch of Endor in an attempt to steal my gown. I, I awoke myself several times during this battle, calling on Jesus, telling her to get out, speaking the word and praying in tongues. Suddenly I had what it took to defeat her spells that she had cast on me, and noticed amulets that she had placed on my gown, which I removed and reversed her spells to fall on her head instead. I won the battle. I donned the gown that I had spent the entire night protecting. I don't know the symbolism of any of this, but I'm sure the Lord will reveal it. And that's it.
I have some ideas. Does that mean you want to go first, Tammy, when you touch
No, I'm just like, wow, this is like an incredibly
Isn't that strange?
dream. But no, Cody, if you want to go first, I can go first. Don't matter to me.
Then go first, Tammy. Go first. Go ahead.
Okay. So what was interesting is as you were reading it, I'm immediately hearing the fish and the loaves miracle, right? You talk about the fish dinner, and then even before you started cornbread, I was already hearing the fish and the loaves, which I thought was interesting. But then you interrupted and said that you have 12 siblings. And I was already thinking that this has to do with the 12 disciples. So this has to do with a calling, like one of the callings of the disciples. And then the fact that boiled, one of them was, or John was attempted to be boiled, I believe, in oil, right? In a pot.
Ooh.
If I remember correct. Cody, do you know if John, the beloved, the one that,
yeah, I think that's in church history. I think that's part of church history. I don't think it's actually in the Bible, but yeah, I do think.
Yeah, so. I didn't say it was in the Bible, but I meant
but I mean, I do think that's the story that what they say, and that they couldn't kill him.
Right, like every time they tried to kill him, but he was boiled. And then when you started talking about the Witch of Endor, I heard the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. But when you talked about the white robe, I immediately heard, before I even heard John first, I just heard 12 disciples. That's when I heard John, the one that Jesus loved. And it's, because he, from historical standpoint, I believe he was one of the disciples, original 12 that lived the longest. But that's kind of what I'm hearing now. Like there's some significance to maybe like your calling in your life that is similar.
I love that because I heard some of the similar same things. And so the Witch of Endor, right? Saul was anointed king, and then he wouldn't relinquish his kingship when he was called down. So he was really an unlawful king at a time when David was already anointed king, right? So he refused to step down. And when he lost the Lord's favor, he went to the Witch of Endor, right? Which is kind of an interesting time if you consider what world we're living in. But this is interesting. So you're in this house from the time you're a teenager, yet you're cooking your current husband a meal in it, right?
Right.
So the Lord is linking some things that happened at this time in your life to where you are today. You're still married to your current husband, right? He's still alive.
Yes.
This is your current husband, right? So the Lord, and this is a recent dream, right?
Right. No, actually, I had this in June of 2021.
Okay, well, it's recent enough. So the Lord's connecting these dates, right? Saying, okay, there's something at this time in your life that is impacting your ability to function in Tammy said calling, your current role as a wife, right? You're trying to, and for sure, I heard the fish and loaves too, but also it's interesting. The fish is a symbol for Christianity. Now, is there any history in your family line of any kind of occult practices or any kind of witchcraft or other religions?
I have 3 sisters, and the middle sister had gotten into witchcraft in high school.
Yeah. And so was she in this dream?
No.
Okay. Now, any of the other siblings in this dream at this time, were they, or even before you, because it's interesting. It's multi-generational witches, right? It's I do believe it was a mother-daughter, right?
I don't know about that, but there was an older
And a younger
witch teaching the one.
Right. So there was some kind of generational thing even in the witches. So I would wonder if there was something even farther back than your current family line, but for sure your sister qualifies, right? And so what's interesting is that you're trying to prepare the meal, but yet you got a dead rat. Now the brother that you gave the dead rat to, are you in? Without prying, you're free not to say. Is there any contention or rivalry right now in any of these relationships with your siblings?
The one that I gave the dead rat to he's living in another state, and he doesn't come and visit anybody, and so.
Yeah. So I do wonder, or I do get the sense. Okay, so there's two things for sure. I get the sense that the Lord is showing you that there's something from this time that's even hindering you today. So like the witchcraft, where and for sure the bride, what do? We're the bride of Christ, right? So we and you want to keep it. We want it. So our husband presents the wife back to the Lord. As a spotless thing, and even Jesus, we're washed with his blood, and then he presents us to the Father. So you're trying to keep the gown spotless, but there's some things happening from this time that's impacting that ability. So for sure, there's a showing that there's some witchcraft happening from the past that you still need to deal with. It shows that you get the victory in it, but it does show that there is this thing. And then my only other part in here is, the brother with the dead rat. I would ask if there's something there that needs to be, I would seek the Lord and say, hey, Lord, is there something there? There's some kind of offense that I need to do to kind of repair that with your son, not your son, your brother.
One comment about that is I have tried many times to speak to him about getting right with the Lord. And I even had him meet me in San Antonio a couple of times to go to church to a conference that I was in. And he always would compliment me and tell me how I reminded him of grandmother, because grandmother was a very good Christian lady. And which to me was a very good compliment. But Michael is his name, and he thinks that you can work your way to heaven. Okay. That being good, if I'm good to people and I don't mistreat people, then I'll go to heaven. And I've talked to him. I've told him how to get to heaven. And the last time we spoke was probably in 2021, and he hurt my feelings bad. And I told him, I said, well, you don't have to worry about me ever talking to you about the Lord again.
Okay. Well, I do believe that. Here's my challenge to you. The Lord is highlighting this relationship in a way that I'm going to challenge you to seek the Lord on. And based on that statement alone, you may have to forgive him, and you may have to forgive yourself. And there may be something the Lord, because the Lord didn't give him the dream. The Lord gave you the dream. You're supposed to be the good Christian. So the Lord's highlighting a few things in your life that's impacting your ability to, serve your husband, but it's also this whole bride gown thing, right? That's the whole thing. It's the spotless bride, the white gown, to be the spotless bride before the Lord. The Lord has an expectation of his people who represent Christ to those who don't know him, right? And so if there's unforgiveness, and I'm saying there is, but I would ask the Lord, hey, Lord, for every one of these symbols, and we're not going to be able to go through them all, that's attached to a sibling, I would say, Lord, okay, is this something that I need to deal with that sibling, right? For sure, we got that there's some witchcraft that needs to be dealt with, and so you'll be asking the Lord about that. The dirty water with the sister, I would ask you, you don't have to say this on air, what's the dirty water that needs to be let out with your youngest sister? So
there's not anything between us. We all love each other. We're all Christians, and
I've asked
the only contention was with him not wanting to hear me talk to him about the Lord anymore. He threatened to hang up on me and everything. So,
well, the Lord brought the symbols up. So I would ask the Lord, what's the deal with the dirty water and the youngest sister? Now, she helped you, so that could actually be a positive thing, right? But the dead rat attached to the other brother wasn't necessarily positive. So I'm just going to tell you the main symbols in the dream, right? So you got a dead rat, you got dirty water. For sure, I got stirring the beans. And when you stir the beans, you're stirring the pot, you're kind of causing a little trouble, right? That's undeniable, right? So who was the one that was attached to stirring the beans?
Nobody.
Nobody. Okay. But for sure, you stirred the beans.
Yes.
Yes. So you were stirring the pot. So that means that you're going to be responsible for that action. And you need to ask the Lord, okay, Lord, I stirred the beans. What do I need to do? How do I, is there anything, and you don't need to speak it to us. You need to answer this question. This is what I would ask the Lord, because he brought the symbol up, right? And that you stirred the pot and it resulted in a dead dog, right? And so that's not a positive symbol. And then the TV with the two brothers, that it resulted in the dead cat. So, you know, you have these symbols of these dead animals with the siblings. I'd ask the Lord about it, but yet you're still trying to cook. So it definitely shows that there's something happening at this time in your life that's impacted your Christian walk, right? Your white gown, but it also is impacting you today trying to cook dinner for your husband. Now, is your husband a believer?
Yes.
Okay, and you guys are good there. So here's my challenge for you, and this is kind of where I'm getting it. I would challenge you, not just for you to answer. It's not for you to answer. The Lord brought these symbols up. And if the first symbol connects you to something with your brother that could potentially be there, I would just ask the Lord with these other siblings. You don't need to name them on air and say, Lord, is there something here that I need to deal with? I stirred the pot. I stirred the pot, Lord, in this dream. You showed me that I've done something. What do I need to do? I would challenge you to ask them, at least if you need to forgive your brother, if there's something else you need to forgive at this time. For sure, there's a symbol of witchcraft in here that comes from this time. You've already confirmed that. You get victory over it, but it's still in this dream, still impacting your ability to function. So I think that there's something here that still needs to be addressed. So I would challenge you on the spiritual warfare side of this. So I do believe that this is a dream that the Lord's showing you that's going to, and it's not that our marriages are ever better, but it's going to enable you to be the bride of Christ and practically serve your family in a better way. Tammy, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I have two things. Now, you said Celeste, and other people put it in, but I had heard celestial too. But then at the end, did you say that they had placed amulets around your house?
Around the gown, on the gown.
So is there heirlooms, family heirlooms, connected that maybe you don't even know about? And I would ask God to reveal any family heirlooms that would be amuleted or part of the witchcraft that was a part of your family, because I started really thinking about the amulets, and then the fact that celestial, right? Celeste road. Is there anything from that house that's an heirloom?
Yes, and that house, when I was probably 15 or 16, my mother gave me a zodiac necklace pendant, and I felt that that's the only thing I have in my house that would be causing any negative effect. So I actually threw it in the trash.
Okay.
I didn't give it to anybody. I just threw it in the trash.
Right.
But I've kept that all these years.
Was that before or after the stream that you threw it away?
After.
Okay. Because celestial, the zodiac, the house, the amulet, that all makes sense.
Just let me interject real quick. So I would challenge you to go look wherever you kept it to make sure it's gone. Now, this is going to sound crazy, but I know of more than one story where people have physically tried to remove objects and the objects reappeared. Because if they're cursed objects, they're attached to demons and they can put them back. Now, we're called to destroy them. We're called to destroy them and to destroy them by fire if we're able. So you didn't destroy it. You just tried to throw it away. So the first thing you need to do is just confirm that it's still gone. If it shows back up somewhere in your house, you need to physically destroy it as much as you're able without, I understand you have limitations, smash it with a hammer or something like that, bend it, and then throw it away. Tammy, sorry for interrupting. I just had
No, that's perfect, because yes, I have heard of that. I've heard of people like destroying Ouija boards and them showing back up. And
Yeah. And the same house, Mama had given us a Ouija board too.
that's interesting that God brought that up too. So did you guys ever touch or interact with the Ouija board?
Yes. We all did. We thought it was a toy. But as a matter of fact, my first husband and I, the Ouija board had given me his name and his route number of the house he lived in at the time that we were playing with it. And that's when my sister got involved with witchcraft too. And
which sister was this one sister that you don't
next
have
to the youngest one?
Okay.
Yeah. So I've got one that's a year younger than me. And then she's probably 5 years younger than me.
Right. So I would ask the Lord if there's any deliverance that needs to be done for interacting with the Ouija board, even though you were as a child, but it may have let spirits attached to you through that. And if there's anything attached to your marriage through that too, like, not that your husband wasn't meant for you by God, but is the enemy trying to twist something or attach a spirit that needs to be broken?
I tell you, you guys are smart.
Nope, it's the Holy Spirit.
With all glory goes to God, and He gave you the dream, and we're trying to hear from the Lord to help you with any of these other. See, I asked you about occult practices, but a Ouija board is an occult practice. So is Zodiac. Is there any other things like that that you can think of from that time in your life?
Not that I can think of.
Just ask the Lord, see what He says. But it's a cool dream, and here's the cool part: the Lord wants you free. He shows that you're going to overcome this, and I'm believing even restoration in the places in the family where it's had some conflict.
Praise the Lord.
Thank you. Did your brother who's offended play with the Ouija board?
Yes.
Yep. And so, yeah, there you go. I mean, that's a real spiritual hindrance. I mean,
yeah, well, back then nobody knew that.
Yeah, right on. No, I'm not. There's no condemnation.
Oh, I know. And I wasn't saying that, but nobody knew it back then. But boy, we know it now.
Yeah, the Lord is showing you. He brought you this dream, and He's showing you victory, which is the most important part. So we do have a hard stop. Thank you. Does any of what we said resonate with you?
Oh, absolutely. Okay, absolutely. Great. And I appreciate the job that you all are doing.
Yeah, thank you, Lord. Well, I'm going to let you go, and we look forward to hearing from you again. I'm going to close it out. I'm going to play the outro. Tammy, do you have anything you want to say? Anything you want to talk about? Anything as we say goodbye here?
No, just everyone have a blessed night. Dream. Remember them.
Yeah. And don't forget about the sim class. It's starting very soon. They're still taking applications. And so you can find more by, I'm sure, what's the email that they're sending that to you? Do you know, Tammy?
I do not actually know.
dreamlifedecoded@gmail.com is a good one, or do you have a better one?
I would say that one probably.
Yeah. Or you could go
courses. Is it courses at Dream Life Decoded?
It might be that. But you can go to spiritualintelligence.com, right? That's the website that does it. Yep. Go to spiritualintelligence.com, and I'm going to play the outro. Thanks, everyone. We see you next week.